See, guys, so now since I drank lots of caffeine recently, I don't feel like sleeping, but it's like 6 o'clock in the morning and I don't feel like sleeping. But I feel like talking. I feel like promoting myself. Do you understand? So the thing is that when I get back to Australia, what I want to do is I want to go out there and I want to promote myself as much as possible to the universe so that I can do better. And now I want to be around people much more. So I'm going to go to the city to promote myself. It's going to take me like 2 hours to get to the city and stuff like that. But by the time I get to the city, I realize I'm going to read on along the way, and I'm going to print like 300 business cards. And I'm just going to give 300 business cards per day if I can to just promote myself as much as possible. But I'll see what happens. I realize it's much more how I can go Cabramatta. I can really, let's say, promote myself along the lines of what I can do, and I'll try to really grow myself the best way I can. I know that God would want me to promote myself as much as possible, but that's what I'm doing right now. I realize now I have to watch out for my finances over here because I have $40 a day that I can actually spend, and that I could actually invest into things for living. So I cannot anymore, let's say at the moment, invest into my music production because I need the money to live life. I need that money for Australia. I have to live on a certain amount of money and I have to watch out my finances now. but that's about it. I realize it's much more how it's time to just lay down now and just go rest. See, guys, so just recently I made a beautiful track with Jenna Evans, and I put some musical instruments like, for example, orchestra inside of it, and it's real instruments, and I picked out who's going to play my track and stuff like that. I made sure to compose the track, I made sure to arrange it, I made sure to give the money necessary to have that kind of vibe in my life. And is it worth it? I promise you it's worth it. And why is it worth it? Because I can listen to the same track over and over again, and it's going to give me happy feelings. You know, it's going to make me something better. I promise you I can focus upon life much better. I can do things in the dark much better. I can do things in life much better when I have more music by my name. So I'm really into music now, for example, but I understand that I need money. I understand that there's a better time coming where I'm going to have money. And why didn't I allow more money to come into my life is because I didn't want to work a 9 to 5 job. And I'm living a standard life where I'm living on the government's allowance for now. But that's not going to be forever. And I'm just going through that kind of phase. I'm still in the phase that other people are taking care of me with money and stuff like that. But that's not forever. I promise you, I'm not going to be on the government's allowance forever. And now what's going to happen in my future, I don't know. But if I ever make it to 90 years of age or something like that, where I have to get an old age pension, there may not be a pension around. So I may have to work extra. Do you understand? So I may have to work extra to get some extra money to live life. And it just depends on the situation in that time. So I understand that my mum's going to be around for the next 26 years. I understand she's going to be a good part of my life now. And I'm going to Australia in about 13 days' time. So I like to talk about my life to you because I understand I don't talk to people much in daily life. And the thing is that when I do talk to people, I just send them all my content as much as possible. And why do I do that? So that I can help people. And that's it. And you have to understand that I'm a spiritual person living in a human body. And I understand that. So what I want to understand today is that today I looked at life and I was talking to one of my friends and I realized everything is images. Have you ever noticed that everything is imagination in life, and everything's connected to that imagination? Yes, and everyone's connected to the same imagination in life. So that's why we are all connected through silence, through breathing, through the air, oxygen, for example, through the images that we see, or through the nice and beautiful imagination. So you have to understand that what I want to do is help myself to realize that I'm not addicted to anything. Do you understand? I'm not addicted to drugs. I'm not addicted to smoking cigarettes. I'm not addicted to caffeine. But I still choose to smoke cigarettes. I still choose to drink caffeine. You understand? At the moment. But I just quit Red Bull recently. I'm not drinking any more Red Bull forever. I'm not going to ever touch Red Bull again. And why is that? Because I got high blood pressure recently and I didn't feel good at all. I felt like I was going to have a heart attack. Do you understand? So I couldn't walk. I was unable to walk because I had too much caffeine in my system. You understand? So the Red Bull really hit me really good. You understand? I drank coffee after that and I started to have high blood pressure. You understand? So I don't want to experience that anymore. But once I get back to Australia, I want to go out there. I want to get my bike that my dad got me. And I want to, well, my dad found it somewhere. He found it like in the garbage dump or something like that. But it's a bike and you can still ride it and everything. But the thing is that I want to get that bike. I want to get a locker. In terms of the bike locker, I want to get a bike lock. And I want to go to the swimming pools every day if I can. And I just want to exercise in the pool as much as possible. And we'll see what happens. But the thing is that I have to exercise, I have to quit smoking, I have to quit caffeine eventually. So the thing is, that's the plan for me. And I understand it's easy to do it. I understand just in the morning when I wake up, that's the really the toughest time for me. And it's not that bad, to be honest. It's not that bad, but I make it out to be bad. You understand? And the way I do that is because I start to smoke cigarettes and drink caffeine to get off that feeling that I feel in the morning. You understand? Because it's like I need a coffee or a cigarette in the morning to just wake up. You understand? But all I need right now is just to understand that once I wake up in the morning, all I'm going to do is drink coffee all day long. And I'm not going to smoke cigarettes at all. So I'm quitting smoking now because I understand that health is everything. You have to understand you have to take care of your health every single day. The more you take care of your health, the better you are in terms of finances, in terms of breathing, in terms of everything. And you have to always understand that everything's information. So all I'm talking to you about is information. But what I want to talk to you about also is how I understand other people and what they talk about. I understand that it's just information. And that's it. That's how I understand people about what they're really talking about and what everything is. I understand everything's information. So when they're talking to me about something or when they're saying something around some type of thing or whatever they're talking about, I understand they're talking about information and nothing else. And what is information? I promise you, information is eternity. I promise you, that's all there is. So everything has a culture, everything has a certain diaphragm, and you have to understand that you have to go angles within that. And you have to understand that mathematics is a part of life. You understand? So you have to realize that you have to be good at something. You understand? You have to really promote yourself out there as much as possible and try to go the free way as much as possible. And that's what I'm doing currently. I'm trying to go the most affordable way, but I understand that if I want to make any quality music for myself, where I can compose something for myself, I have to give some money to be able to have an outstanding track. But I understand that today, more than ever, I understand that most DJs and stuff like that and most musicians don't really succeed as much as other people. You understand that person, they're struggling. And why they're struggling? Because they don't know how to market themselves. They're not marketing themselves enough. I promise you, it's maybe they're not talented enough to succeed, or they're struggling with finances and they can't get off their feet, for example, with life. You understand, life hits people hard. You understand, and you have to be ready for it. You have to be ready to work just like everybody else, because that's what I've learned in life, really. And there was a time where I didn't want to work a 9 to 5 at all. You understand, I didn't want to work a 9 to 5 job. And you have to realize that I'm more than ever right now willing to work a 9 to 5 job now, more than ever, just so I can have more finances for myself. And what's more finances going to bring into my life? I'm pretty sure it's going to bring my mum into my life. It's going to bring new experiences in Europe for myself. So the thing is that I start working part-time or whatever. I start doing whatever job out there that I can get, for example. I start working, whatever. Maybe my dad gets me a car. For example, maybe he gets me a car. I don't know if he's going to get me a car or not. Maybe God gives me a car. But whatever happens, I'm going to try to work. I'm going to try get out there, maybe wash dishes or whatever I need to do to make some money on the side so that I can go finance myself to go see my mum again. You understand? So that's what I want to do eventually, for example. But if that doesn't work out, then I can also live in Australia and it's no problem. You understand? So I can try to do something for myself where I can work and I can try to help myself, or not work and just continue doing my passions without my mum. And that's okay for me too. You understand? I don't need to see my mum. You understand? The thing is that I love my mum to death, but it's like I don't need her in my life. Do you understand? I don't need her. I have myself. But the thing is that you have to realize that you must not need anything in this life except you. You must need yourself only. And when you realize that the only person that you ever need in life is you, that's when you start making better decisions. You start to make quality decisions. You start to really be independent by yourself going through life. Do you understand? Because that's what life is. You have to go away from your parents. You have to realize what that is. You have to realize that most people, for example, for myself over here, I realized that there was a time for me when I didn't go away from my parents at all. You understand? I was always stuck with my family. You understand? I was trying to get away. I was trying to go some places, but the thing is that I was still stuck with my mum and dad. You understand? I was still, let's say, I was stuck more with my dad. You understand? I was stuck with my dad, and I was unable to go anywhere because I was so broke, because I made stupid financial decisions that I thought I could afford, but I couldn't afford. And I didn't want to work. I was that type of guy that I didn't want to work. Do you understand? I didn't want to go out there and work and make some money for myself. But at the same time, I did work in a 9 to 5 job, but I didn't last long. You understand? So you have to realize that nobody lasts long in a 9 to 5 job anyway. But the thing is that some people keep a 9 to 5 job more than others. You understand? They have more quality skills to keep a job. You understand? They wake up early, they get themselves dressed, they drink a coffee or whatever. They start traveling 2-3 hours a day just to get to work and back home. You have to realize that kind of life happens for mostly everyone these days. And everyone's traveling somewhere. But the thing is that I've seen much of life now in terms of whatever I can fathom in my life. And it's just like I've got to the point where I can say it's time now. I mean, it's just time for me to start growing up. Understand? To start living away from family. Understand? To start really living away from my dad, for example. Because I know for now, and I can see for now, that my dad's going to pass away much sooner than my mum. So I'm getting to the point where I have to leave my dad. You understand? I have to leave him. And I have to let him be on his own. And I have to visit his funeral and stuff like that, and it's getting to that point. So I'm going through phases, you understand? And my phase is not going to last for long. You understand? It's not going to last for long, but life is not short. I mean, life is a long life, and whatever number you are given in life, that is your time to go, and that is your time to celebrate. You understand? You celebrate because there's something better coming. You understand? There's always something better coming in life. And your work's done. You understand? So you have to understand that when you get to the point where your work's done, you understand, that's when you start to realize that, hey, it's time to leave this world. You understand? But the thing is that make sure that you can always do something in your life where you can realize to do your work as much as possible. Come here and do, for example, come in this life and try to be here now. Try to live in the moment and try to give as much of yourself as you can into this life, because you never know how much lives you can change. You never know who is listening. You never know what kind of image you are projecting at the world around you. And so the image that I project online about myself, people can see that. People can see that I'm some kind of inspiration. You understand? And when people block you because you are annoying them or something like that, you're just doing that out of love. You're not doing that because you hate them. You understand? The thing is that when you annoy other people, it's because you love them. You understand? It's not because you hate them. Because if you hated them, you wouldn't even talk to them. You understand? So the thing is that some people get so mixed up about communicational signals and stuff like that. But I've learned a lot in terms of my life where I understand that I know nothing. I know nothing, but here I am teaching. I'm teaching because I learn stuff from my teachings. I learn something from my aspect of life that I give out. Do you understand? So me, for the past year, I've constantly been uploading to YouTube. Constantly. And there was a point where I had 300 videos on YouTube. There was a point where I had 500, then 1,000, then 1,500. And now I have like 1,850 videos on YouTube. You understand? So I'm slowly getting to Grant Cardone, who has about 5,400 videos. But the thing is that he's 66 years of age and he started YouTube 13 years ago. I started YouTube about 1.5 years ago. You understand? So the thing is that you have to realize that you have to keep growing, and you have to realize that your music has to go somewhere. You have to promote yourself as much as possible. But the thing is that when I look at Armin van Buuren or these music producers, I realize all they do is make music. Yes, and that's all they do. That's the whole passion. And they focus their whole passion on that. And they focus all their mindset on just music and work. Do you understand? The work life and stuff like that. Having a family is something on the side. Do you understand? But those people who live a single life are going to far further succeed in their passions than the ones who have a family or whatever. Yes, and so, for example, I don't have to devote my time to a family because I don't have a family other than myself, and my family other than my mum and dad and my relatives and stuff like that, and my cousins and stuff like that, and siblings. But the thing is, I don't have a family of my own in terms of I don't have kids, I don't have a wife, do you understand? So I don't have to devote my time into that. Do you understand? I don't have to devote my money into that. Do you understand? So I'm instantly richer. I'm instantly a richer person because I don't have kids and because I don't have a wife. Do you understand? I'm instantly richer. Do you understand? So I'm talking at least $500,000 richer because I don't have a wife and I don't have kids. Do you understand? So you have to realize that kids cost money. Yes, and having a wife or a husband costs money. You have to give them money always. Yes, and you always have to be giving them money. You have to learn to give. Yes, and so the more you give of yourself, the more you shall have. Yes, and so what do you have? You have companionship, you have friendship, you have relationship, you have confidence, you have courage, you have consciousness, you have eternity, you have Jesus Christ, for example. Yes, and you have these kind of things. So the more you give, the more you shall have what I've just said. Yes, and there are a lot more things about that you can understand. The more happiness you have, like when, for example, when you give, and there's no such thing as like. I mean, in my language, when you talk, you make sure that you never pronounce the word like. Yes, and because there's nothing like that. Yes, and but the thing is that you have to realize that you have to give of yourself. Yes, and you give more of yourself every single day, and the more you give of yourself, the more you can actually realize something special about yourself, the more you can actually realize that there's something going on in you, that something is pushing you to make all this content, that something in you is really, really thriving in terms of some aspect of life. You're thriving in something, do you understand? And that's a good feeling when you feel empowered, do you understand? Because you're pushing yourself to do something for the world out there. Yes, and so the more you provide education to other people, or the more you provide music or photography or whatever it is that you do, in life, the more you provide of yourself to other people for service, you understand, the more service you give to other people, the better you are, you understand, in terms of all areas of life. But the thing is that when you ask questions, or when you ask or demand something from life, sometimes life won't give you what you demand of. But if you ask nicely, maybe that it can happen. You understand? So make sure you understand that what you ask for is what you receive all the time, if you believe that you receive it. You understand? So you have to ask questions, and you have to understand that when you ask something, you have to believe that you've already received it. You understand? So you have to realize that it's already within you, that you can attract whatever you want to attract in life. You understand? It's already a possibility. So you just have to believe in yourself that you can do it. Yes, and you have to believe in yourself, because that's something in your core. It's something in your system that when you have this feeling of empowerment, or when you feel that you can do something, I promise you that's the best time for you to actually help yourself to grow. That's the best time to help yourself to do anything in life that's going to help you grow, and that's going to help other people grow at the same time. Yes, and but when you feel lonely and depressed, it's because of something that you're doing in your life. Apparently, maybe they're doing drugs. I mean, it may be that you're not spiritual. Apparently, it could be that you're not one with the world, that you're also disassociating yourself from other people, that you're not talking to other people, or that you're too lonely, in terms of too alone, but you don't know how to talk to yourself, for example. Apparently, I went through this kind of stuff. Do you understand? So when I was depressed and lonely, it's because I didn't have anyone to talk to. You understand? I didn't even talk to myself. You understand? And the thing is that I didn't even talk to myself. But because I can talk to myself now, I don't feel lonely anymore. I don't feel depressed. You understand? Because I have a positive talk with myself. And that's why I do so much audio content. That's why I do so much expressing of my nature, of who I am, out into videos and audio programs and quotes. And the more I express myself, the better I feel, and the more I can make sense of this world. Do you understand? So that's what's helped me to overcome depression. That's what's helped me to, let's say, overcome loneliness. That's what's helped me to do a better life for myself overall. You understand? So that's what you can try for yourself as well. You understand? So you have to realize that if you're a social worker, or if you're doing something in terms of industry or mental health, you understand, you can help people in different ways. You can give them courage, encouragement. You can give them motivation. You can give them confidence. You can give them courage to go and step up a bit. You understand? To start really, really looking at life in a way of growth, that they can go read something. You understand? Try to help people as much as possible in different ways. You understand? Try to actually grow yourself the most you can, and try to be your own person. You understand? And when you actually understand to be your own person, you actually understand how to actually talk to people. You understand? Because you have to understand that there's always a better way. You have to understand that in life, when you really, really help yourself to grow, you're always figuring it out. You understand? You're always figuring life out. And when you figure life out, that's when you know nothing. You understand? You can never figure out life. You understand? You just have to keep going. You have to keep pushing yourself. So, for example, I make music come true in my life, and I try to send it to people just so people can have some kind of glimpse of Danny Milivojevic, or some kind of experience from me personally. Do you understand? But they don't, let's say, appreciate my music the way I feel that they must appreciate it. You understand? But how do I feel? I mean, it's more how they don't ask me, hey Danny, do you have any music today? Do you understand? Do you have any music today? Did you make any music? Apparently people never ask me these questions. You understand? They don't care about my music, man. You understand? So the thing is that when they're not asking you about your passion, then guess what? Apparently just go do you. You understand? Don't worry about that. You understand? The thing is that it's much more how I don't care if people don't ask me about my passion, or if they do. You understand? The thing is that it would be nice if people ask me, hey Danny, did you make a music track today? I want to see your music track. I want to see what you're doing or in your life. You understand? People don't care about me as much anymore. You understand? And I don't feel ashamed about that. I don't feel anxiety about that. I mean, that's just the way life is. But I understand that overall they do care, because they're not trying to kill me. Do you understand? But the thing is that you have to understand that in life, I try to give people an experience as much as possible. You understand? I try to give as much as I can in terms of words, in terms of music, in terms of whatever I can do for this world. I'm trying to do my part. And then eventually I'm gonna start working that 9 to 5 job just like everyone else. And then I'll go work full time. You understand? I'll work full time at the 9 to 5 job. And then that's gonna be another phase of my life. Currently I'm gonna work part time first. I'm gonna work part time because I'm earning more money like that. And then I'm going to work full time when I'm not on the disability support pension anymore. And then I'm going to make more money. Yes, I'm going to have more money in my pocket. And the thing is that you have to understand that eventually you have to work. Yes, and you have to work just like everyone else. So if things are not working in your life, you have to turn the page. Yes, and the thing is that that's what my mum said. She says, Danny, you're doing these passions of yours, but it's not working for you. Turn the page. Yes, and the thing is that it is working for me. Yes, and it's working for me. But the thing is that what she's trying to say for me is that when things are not working out, when something's not working out, turn the page, turn the leaf. You understand? Try to do something else. You understand? Shift your mindset into something else. Try to change your approach, as Tony Robbins says. Change your approach, change your approach, change your approach until it works. Yes, and so something in your life has to work. Actually, you're working at something right now in your life. I understand that. You're actually working on reading, you're working on something spiritual in your life, you're trying to grow. I'm trying to feed you information. Yes, and I'm trying to grow myself in the process. Yes, and I'm trying to help myself to become more mature. And the reason I got more mature, you have to understand, is because I love my life. I want to become someone much more mature in a way that I'm growing. Yes, and so the thing is that it's much more how I became mature is because I did so much giving. I gave so much. You understand? I gave more than other people. Do you understand? And the more I give, the more mature I am. Do you understand? I'm much more quiet around other people, especially around my mum. Do you understand? Around my dad and mum, I'm much more quiet. Do you understand? I let the old people talk. You understand? I let them talk between themselves. And if you want to have a conversation with me, I can have a conversation with you. It's no problem. You understand? So the thing is that what I do in front of the people who are older than me is I start to ask them questions, much more questions, and I try to agree with them more. You understand? But the thing is that I try to give my own thoughts. So it's not like that. I don't disagree with them. I don't disagree with people at all. I never disagree with people. But people think that I disagree with them. I don't disagree with them. I just do things how I want to do it. Yes, and I live my life based on how I want to do it, and it's not because of you, and it's not because of what you said, but because of how I want to live my life. You understand? Because I think in my mind that there's something much better than what you're saying, and that's why I don't feed on your information, because you don't probably know what exactly is good, because I've read so much more than you, because I can realize that right now by the spiritual aspects, and you cannot lie to me. You understand? So that's why my mum calls me so stubborn. You understand? She calls me very headstrong. You understand? Because when people are trying to help me, or when they're trying to tell me what's good for me, you understand? Then it's like I start to do what I want to do, and not because of what they said. You understand? So, and it's not because I don't dislike them. I don't dislike them. I don't hate them. I'm just doing what I feel is much better for me personally. You understand? And that's it. You understand? So if you tell me, Danny, eat meat because it's very good for you, but I want to be a vegan, then whatever you're saying to me is not going to work. You understand? So that's why my mom calls me stubborn. Because my mom says, hey, Danny, eat meat, eat meat. It's very good for you. Eat eggs. It's got plenty of protein. But I told my mom, I want to be a vegan. And she says, Joe, you're so stubborn. You're so stubborn, Danny. Yes, and you're so headstrong. You don't want to take information. She's like, you don't want to take my information. I mean, the thing is that I received your information. I received your information. I heard you out. But the thing is that something doesn't work for me in what you said. You understand? Because the thing is that my belief system is different. You understand? If you want to eat meat and if you want to eat eggs, make sure that you do that. But you have to understand that when I want to be a vegan, then I'm going to do whatever it takes to be a vegan. Yes, I'm going to do whatever it takes. to make sure that I can go and live my life based on how I think that it's much better for me. Yes, and that's why my mom calls me so stubborn, because she thinks that I don't know. And the thing is that I don't know. But the thing is that I feel much better when I'm a vegan than when I'm killing animals. You understand? That's how I feel. You understand? It doesn't work for everybody, but the thing is that that's how I feel. I feel much better when I'm not contributing to the world killing animals. And I'm not saying that you must be a vegan or that you must be a meat eater. That's totally your decision, what you want to do in life. But I've learned that plant food is much better than meat food. That's what I've learned, because I can get all my nutrients from plant food. It's no problem. All the nutrients I can get from plant food. Yes, and I have that kind of information inside of me. And I've explained that in my videos. And if you've been listening to my videos, and if you've been reading from me, I promise you, you might have heard how I speak about all these kind of things. So the thing is that you have to realize that there's always a time and place for everything. Yes, and so you have to realize that there's a better time coming for you, and you have to grow yourself no matter what. Yes, and you have to keep having faith. So that's what got me over depression as well. Yes, and I had faith in myself somehow. Yes, and I have faith in myself. When I started reading first, you have to realize, when I started to read, do you know how stupid I was? I mean, I was so stupid. And the thing is that I didn't know what information they were giving me. Yes, I didn't know what was going to happen. Yes, and the thing is that the more I read the information, the more I started reading, the more let's say, the more I grew, but the more I understood things. Yes, and the more I started to change as a person. I started to change my habits. I started to change the person I was. I started to change certain traits in my life, certain actions, yes, and that I usually today I don't take anymore. Yes, and such as just having sex with a woman just to fuck her and that's it. I don't do that anymore. And for example, other things like swearing at people or sending the rude finger at people or something like that. You see, I don't do these things because other people are not aware. They're not aware. I mean, make sure you understand something, that there was a time in my life where I got jumped by people and I sent them a rude finger. Do you understand? The middle finger. And it's not a rude finger, okay? The thing people call it a rude finger. It's not a rude finger. You understand? But they think it's rude. You understand? They think that because you sent them a middle finger, and it's not even a middle finger, just so you understand. Just because you sent them that finger, that somehow you perpetrated them, or that you killed them somehow, or that you physically hurt them. So what they do is they get together and they try to jump you. They try to cause violence on you because you've done that. Yes, and so that's society trying to condition you. Yes, and they're trying to condition you to do a better job. Yes, and so it's in your favor. You understand? So you have to realize nothing is rude in this lifetime. There's nothing rude in this lifetime. Bro, God said that this world is good. You understand? So you have to realize that the way I think is like, for example, if a guy throws a baby off a roof, okay, and that baby, let's say, dies, I don't think that's rude. You understand? Because God said the world is good. You understand? So that's my belief system. You understand? I believe in what God said. You understand? That it's good. Because why would God let that happen? You understand? So that's good that it happened. You understand? So the thing is that there was like my friend today. He was speaking to me. He was speaking to me, and he said, actually, my mum was speaking to me, and she said, that this lady said that she's waiting for her parents, and this other person says, don't worry, this person doesn't have parents, and they all died. I mean, her parents all died. You understand? She's waiting for her parents, but her parents died. You understand? And my mom's like, oh, she's sick. And you can see that she's sick, for example. And that's what my mom said. My mom said, you can see that she's sick. She's waiting for her parents, but her parents died. You understand? So the thing is that I told my mom spiritually that she's maybe waiting for her parents, so when she dies, so she can see her parents. You understand? Because what can she do other than wait for her parents. So she's being spiritual. She's going through a spiritual transformation. And to me, she's not sick. To me, she's not sick spiritually. Yes, and but my mom doesn't understand that. She doesn't understand the spiritual nature. Yes, and so she starts, for example, saying to me, "Oh, if you believe that, then you really have a psychotic episode, or you really are not good in your head." Yes, and the thing is that it's much more how I'm much more spiritual than my mom. You understand? So the thing is that you have to realize that my friend today is like, everyone has a problem. I say, I don't have a problem at all. Maybe you think that I have a problem. I have no problem at all. And then he says, "Oh, you're so stubborn. You're so stubborn." Yeah, I'm not stubborn, man. I'm telling you, I don't have a problem. He said, "Oh, but you in hospital. Do you think that's a problem?" I said, "No, that's not a problem for me. It's not a problem for me. I don't have a problem." He said, "Would you go back to hospital?" I said, "No, I don't want to go back to hospital because I can have a better life without hospital." Yes, and so he says that, is it a problem though? I promise you, it's not a problem for me. I don't have problems in my life. You understand? I don't realize that I have a problem. You understand? I don't have a problem. You understand? So the thing is that in my life, I think that way. You understand? I think in a way that I don't have a problem at all in my life. And even if I smoke cigarettes and even if I drink caffeine, I don't have a problem. You understand? I don't have a problem. But if you start thinking so much problems around yourself, you're going to overwhelm yourself. You're going to start causing yourself anxiety. You're going to start causing yourself fear. You understand? So it's all psychology. Do you understand? So make sure you have no problems in life. I mean, write down all your problems on a sheet of paper and resolve those problems as quickly as possible. You understand? And try to find a solution to those problems. I always have a solution for every problem. You understand? For every single problem, I have a solution. You understand? So that's what you guys need to do also. You have to have a solution for every problem. And the more you talk it out and the more you solve problems in the world, you understand, the more you solve your own problems. You understand, the more you lift up. You understand? And I have no problem working a 9 to 5 job. But the thing is that for me, that's not my passion. You understand? That's not my passion. And but what is my passion is maybe having a family. You understand? Maybe having a family someday. That's if I have a family. You understand? If I have a family. And if I don't have a family in my life ever, then it's not going to concern me as much. You understand? It's not going to concern me as much. I'll be richer as a person anyway. I'll experience life on my own and no worries, man. I can be on my own. It's no worries. But I recently cried. I realized my friend was talking about how a guy had sex with a woman when they were younger and he left the country. He went to America, and how that woman, after 14 years, had a child, for example, and 14 years passed by, and that kid was 14 years of age, and this guy that had sex with her didn't realize that he has a kid with her. Yes, and so then what happened was my friend over here said that he's gonna find the guy who is the father of the child and stuff like that, because they lost contact. Yes, and these guys lost contact. And you have to realize that the woman that had a child with that man had lost contact with that man who went to America. So my friend said that he's going to find him. So he went all around America trying to look for this person. Yes, and so, and then suddenly they found him. I don't even know how, but the thing is that they found him. They brought him back to the child, and the child was like, "Hey, can I speak in front of you?" And you know, say, I mean, how beautiful is that for a child to say, "Can I speak in front of you?" to his father. You know, so, and that made me cry. You know, it made me cry. You know, after 14 years, they don't see each other and stuff like that, and he says to his father, first words, "Can I speak to you?" And you understand, like, that just made me cry. Do you understand? But the thing is that you have to realize that you have to go through life making sure that you are observant. Yes, and observe your life, observe people's lives. And the more you observe people's lives, try to ask more questions. Just like, what's his name? Socrates. Yes, and Socrates was always asking questions. Yes, and so the more questions you ask, the more you don't know. Yes, and the more you realize that you're just smarter than before. But what happens is that when you start reading much more, when you start reading much more material, and when you interest yourself in reading when you actually have nothing to do, start reading much more. Start to educate yourself about something. I mean, there's so much questions you can ask in life about anything that you ever want, and you can get that information for yourself, and you can improve yourself through that information. In a sense, so work on your attitude, yes, and that's what you have to work on. And I asked my friend yesterday, just recently, and I asked him, "Hey, what's the one thing that you learned from me personally in the most recent time that I've been with you?" And he said that you don't get angry. He said to me, "You don't get angry at nothing. You forgive very fast." I said that's what he said. So that's true. Yes, I forgive very quickly. I don't get angry anymore. Yes, I've learned not to get angry because they put me on medication because I got angry. Yes, and that's it. Yes, and I've learned my lesson. Yes, and so that made me more spiritual in a way. Yes, and there's no chance I'm gonna get angry at anything anymore. Yes, and I mean that was a wake up calling for me. So the thing is that I woke up to a better individual. That I'm now better than before in some areas of life. But do you know what my mum says? Whereas my mum says to me that I'm worse than yesterday, and that's all she says. She doesn't say that I'm better yesterday at something. She thinks that my attitude is a shit attitude to some degree. You understand? And my attitude to some degree is shit. I agree. But my mum says in a different tone, she says, "Oh, your attitude is totally shit." And she says also how she's not proud of me and stuff like that. But it's like, if you're not proud of me, why do you make me food? In terms of, not make me food, but why do you keep me in your house if you're not proud of me? Yes, and so she in a way is proud of me. Yes, and I asked my friend today, and I was like, "Am I a good man?" And he said, "I'm a good man." Yes, and that's it. Yes, and but I clarified some things, and I realized that I don't go by the opinions of other people. Yes, and I don't live on other people's opinions of me. Yes, and I try to give everyone an experience of my opinion about everything. Yes, and my mum's like, "Oh, but you teach so much, but you're not making money on it." Yes, and but I told her I'm making money on it in a different way. Yes, and I'm making consciousness. I'm making much more of a life for myself in different ways. Yes, and so it's making me much better at what I do in a different way. Yes, and I'm much more able to do a 1 hour program. I'm much more able to do talking, and I'm much able to be an interesting conversationalist to you personally because I can teach you something about life. Yes, and because I can really understand how to teach, for example, now much more than before. Yes, and when I first started off, do you know how slow I was at teaching? I didn't know what to teach. Yes, and I didn't know, and I still don't know what to teach. But I'm much more faster now teaching than I ever was. Yes, and I'm much more educated in my language in terms of what I speak. You understand? So that's how I started. You understand? When I first started to understand that there was a phase in my life where I didn't leave my parents at all, and I was so scared to leave my parents. You understand? To travel somewhere on my own, for example. You understand? I was scared. You understand? I didn't have the money either to travel. You understand? And I was broke as well, and I didn't have a job. You understand? I was in a lower time before than I am now. Yes, and those times were when I was like 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25 years of age. Yes, and I was like broke. Yes, and the thing is that I didn't go anywhere much except for Europe when I went to Europe because my mum paid for it and because other people paid for it and stuff like that. And this time I went to my mum this time, and Australia paid for it. Yes, and I'm pretty sure other people paid for it. But the thing is, I'm in a better position now than I ever was. Yes, and I'm in a better headspace. I'm in a better spirituality. I'm in a better attitude now, and I'm in a better conversationalist now than ever before. So I'm much more able to talk now and able to keep an interesting conversation with the crowd. Yes, and that's an important factor that you have to learn. Yes, and so the thing is that when you can public speak in front of people, then you can go and approach a woman as well. Yes, and it's no problem. Yes, and it's like you just public speak in front of her. Yes, and you just told her to approach you You know what I'm saying? And you can start speaking to people really easy. You know what I'm saying? You just start doing your own thing. You know what I'm saying? So you have to realize that you have to grow yourself. You have to really, really have faith in yourself that you can do it. You know what I'm saying? But if you take anything from this program right now and just say to yourself, I have faith in that. I have faith in myself that I can do it. Yes, and I have faith in myself that I can do it. Say it to yourself, and just say to yourself every single day that. I mean, say that to yourself every single day, and that way you're gonna be better. So say, I have faith that I can do it, and every single day say that. Say that every single day, and you'll be a better person for it. You understand? You'll start to believe in yourself more. You'll start to help yourself more. You understand? That's what you need to do for yourself. You have to help yourself. So I realize nobody does my music for me. Nobody does my YouTube for me. Nobody does anything for me. But everyone's working for me at the same time. Yes, and so I'm living my life basing it on how I want to live at the moment. I'm not living on other people's opinions. I'm not living on how other people want me to live. You understand? I'm choosing when I want to work the 9 to 5 job, and I'm choosing exactly when and what time I'm going to work a 9 to 5 job in my life. You understand? So once I get back to Australia, I promise you, is it time to work a 9 to 5 job? I promise you, yes. I promise you, go work a 9 to 5 job 2 days a week. I can do it. I promise you, I can handle 2 days a week, and just 16 hours or 20 hours or whatever it is. I can handle 20 hours a week of work just at the 9 to 5. And between that, I probably have 5 hours traveling, or maybe 2 hours, 3 hours traveling, depends. And you have to realize that it's no problem. You understand? But I don't want to be doing that all my life. You understand? So the thing is that I realized I'm not going to be doing that all my life. But it's just a phase. I'm going through a phase. You understand? I'm going through different phases. And what you work at is what you have. What you realize that you can understand that people work, for example, and they do just random jobs like construction, for example. I mean, what we do without those people that don't do construction, for example. In a sense, so for example, we have all these beautiful cities because people are doing construction. And construction is good money, but it's a really difficult job to do. You know, it's really physical work, do you understand? Hitting a hammer all day long, I mean, fucking walking all day long, standing, being on your knees, you understand, holding things up, I mean, carrying things, you understand? I mean, it's a really difficult job to do construction. But that's not my kind of work. My work in a 9 to 5 job is more social worker or dietitian. That's more my work. But I have to go to university for that. And then if I go to university for that, then I have to get a loan from the government to actually fund myself to go to university to study. You understand? And that's all for free. For example, it's for free, but I can talk to Mira about it. And the thing is that my plan is not to live in Australia. My plan is to live with my mum, for example. And when I live with my mum, I can still do my work with my mum, but it's a different thing. I realize once my dad passes away, I'm not gonna have anyone in Australia anymore. Yes, I have nobody over there. Yes, other than John Wiseman. Yes, but the thing is that me and John Wiseman, we are close, but we are also not that close. Yes, we are close, but not close. Yes, and the thing is that we are close, but not to the point to say that we're really, really close, like family. Do you understand? I mean, he's like more family to me than other people. Yes, and so the thing is that he's a good guy. Yes, but you have to realize that he's the only person that I have as a friend over there. But I have other friends as well over there at poker and stuff like that. I have the Serbian community, but I don't go around the Serbian community because they don't like me. Yes, and so that's what I believe. And not every single Serbian person out there in Australia, for example, is like that. But there are people out there in terms of Serbian communities that do like me in Australia, but I don't hang around with them. Yes, I don't hang around with the Serbian community. I don't. It's not that I don't find them interesting. It's not that I just don't go there because I'm not ready to go there. Yes, and it's not that I don't feel deserving to go there or not, but I just feel that phase of my life is gone. Yes, and it's gone somewhere else. Yes, and I want to dedicate my energy somewhere else. Yes, and why is that? Because those people that I used to hang around with in terms of the swimming community is all gone separate ways, and I want to hang around with those people that dislike me. Yes, and there are people that dislike me. Yes, and so I just moved away from those people. Do you understand? I have nothing against them. I forgive them for everything they've done. I don't hate them. Yes, and I just move on. Do you understand? They were once a part of my life. I'm grateful for everything they've done for me and stuff like that. Yes, and I'll move on now. And that's how you must think as well. Yes, and so I'm just teaching you how to think. Yes, and so you have to realize that all I ever teach, all I ever teach in life is how to think. Yes, and that's how I teach. I teach you just how to think and nothing else. And that's just based on my mindset. Yes, and so that's what I have to give. Yes, and my mindset, my experiences, my life. Yes, and that's it. Nothing else. So I realize now, once I get back to Australia, there's about 13 days left with my mum now. I realize things are going quickly right now. I realize I'm doing things right now. I'm really picking up the pace with my mum here. I understand in Germany, when I'm just in one place where I have the internet, for example, I can do my work, you understand? But once I'm traveling, I'm doing other things. I like to travel too. I like to travel places to see new things and stuff like that. And that's part of my work as well, you understand? But I'm doing my things. I'm doing what I came here to do, for example. So, for example, I found my passion. I found my purpose. I found something to do. I found something to promote, for example, and that's it. I'm pretty sure you have to realize that you have to promote something in life. Yes, and you have to promote yourself. You have to promote the person you want to be. Yes, and so you have to live up to your expectations. Yes, and don't live up to the expectations of other people. Live up to your own expectations of yourself. But make sure you put the bar high. Yes, and make sure that your own bar is high. Yes, and make sure that you have high expectations of yourself. Yes, and try to not disappoint yourself. Yes, and try to make sure that you understand that if you do disappoint yourself, make sure you forgive yourself and make sure that you keep going. Keep having faith in yourself and say, I can do it. Yes, then that's what you need to do. So if you are realizing that life is something magnificent every single day, that you realize you have so much learning materials out there that you can learn, that you can really, really invest into yourself with information. Do you understand how interesting that is? That you can go out there and learn anything that you ever want to learn. Do you understand? And Bruce, if you don't have that kind of mentality in life, then you're not going to get far. Do you understand? You need to go out there and you have to learn as much as possible. Do you understand? You have to every single day learn as much as possible. Do you understand? And that way you will also succeed. Do you understand? You will succeed at something. And where you dedicate your energy to, that's where your success goes. Do you understand? So you are the sum of all your thoughts and all your ideas and everything that you are today. Do you understand? So you have to realize that you are not of this world. You are something better than your thoughts. You're something better than this world. Do you understand? And you're something better than yourself in some kind of way. Yes, and you are also better than yourself in some kind of way. Yes, and you are improving your skills in some kind of way. Yes, and so you have to realize that I understand that, and I understand everyone has flaws. Yes, and everyone's got flaws. Yes, and but you have to show those flaws. You have to show the flaws as well. You have to show your flaws as well as everyone else. Yes, and so you have to be accepting of yourself. You have to love yourself. You have to really, really show yourself a true time for yourself where you can actually grow. But if you go on a sex hunt, if you just start going on a sex hunt, trying to fuck women or men every single day, apparently that's no journey, mate. You have to understand that. Apparently, apparently you have to realize that many people get lost in that. You understand? They start fucking, and they get nowhere. Apparently, they get nowhere except for sex. But you understand? That's what they succeed at. I seen this porn star. This guy fucks all these women. You understand? And the thing is that he dedicates his life to it. Apparently, I think he's 50 years of age now. Apparently, I don't think he has kids as well. I mean, you have to realize that I don't think that guy does have kids because he's fucking all these women. And you have to realize that these guys, and I mean, you have to realize they're too addicted to sex. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you have to realize that's not productive. You know what I'm saying? So they dedicate their life to this. You know what I'm saying? That's their passion. You know what I'm saying? You have to realize that. But the thing is that you have to do something better than that. You know what I'm saying? You have to not masturbate. You have to make sure that you can watch pornography, but make sure you don't masturbate. Because pornography is just images. You know what I'm saying? It's just imagination. It's reality. I'm pretty sure you can learn something from it. You know what I'm saying? But it's not something that makes you addicted. You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure pornography cannot make you addicted. You know what I'm saying? So you have to realize that you need to grow. You understand? You have to grow yourself into the best person you can be every single day. And you have to be an interesting person. You understand? You have to learn how to talk. Try to talk better every single day. Try to talk like me in a way. But the thing is that you don't have to be me, but try to talk in an interesting manner that people can understand you, that people can be with you in a way that they understand what you're saying. Do you understand? Don't try to be me. Try to be something like how I think. Do you understand? Try to have that kind of mentality. Do you understand? So anyway, guys, I hope that you guys have enjoyed my program. I'll see you guys in the next program. I just want to teach you guys very quickly something that all legumes, such as lentils, chickpeas, beans, for example, and soybeans as well, you have to realize has fiber. Yes, and it all has fiber. So make sure that you're eating much more fiber in your daily diet because it cleans your system, and and it boosts your immune system. So when you're cleaning your system, you will actually boost your immune system as well, and that will make you a healthier person to be around, and you'll have a higher frequency when you eat plant food only. In a sense, so when you eat plant food only, what happens is you become a much more spiritual person, and you become much more aware of what you're doing. So you guys, so here I am at home at my mum's house, and I'm just thinking about things. I realized I just learned some things around music production, and I'm quite glad I did because it's going to help me in the future to do a better job for myself. So I made myself do a sub bass. I understand how to make a sub bass now with my tracks and how to turn up the volume of the sub bass in my music tracks to make it feel that it's much more subby in the track, which is excellent. And I found myself using this nice and beautiful tool in FL Studio to make my melodies in terms of art melodies and stuff like that. But I have to figure out a better way for myself to live life, for example. And the only thing I'm finding out right now is cigarettes and caffeine, nothing else. So luckily I am staying away from the Red Bull. And what I want to write down over here for myself is just to really enjoy myself over here, to just say that I'm a vegan. So I have to write it down for myself, and I have to realize that there's a better life waiting for me. There's something better on the way. I realize this is not the pinnacle of my life right now where I am. I realize I am somewhere in the middle of life and death. But the thing is that I have to grow myself into the person that I want to be. And that's quite a challenge as well. It's quite a challenge to be that kind of person all my life, that I can be responsible about, where I can actually grow myself to be that best person in terms of the best version of myself. So that's what I want to quite do for myself, where I'm living life to the fullest every single day. And all I have to say is that I'm someone who doesn't drink Red Bull anymore. I don't drink Red Bull anymore, but I feel like drinking some water right now. I realize I'm going to go to my dad's house in about 12 days time. There's another 12 days with my mum at the moment. And I don't know if I'll see my mum again, for example, because you never know what's going to happen in Australia, for example, in life. So I'm just over here listening to silence right now. I'm competing with myself to do better than myself. I'm going to the lake tomorrow with my mum and my friend, and I realize I'm going to be at the lake, I'm going to be swimming and stuff like that. It's going to be 35 degrees, and I realize that I have to outgrow myself and I have to do better. I realize it's 2 o'clock now. I think it's time for bed. but at the same time I feel like talking, I feel like doing something for myself over here where I can record my life or do something around something that I'm good at, something that I can do. For example, is help myself to succeed. Maybe learn something, but it's getting late as well. I realize I think it's time for bed for me, but I have to do better. Hey guys, so I want to teach you something very quickly. That when I was much, let's say, not younger, when I was around 15 years of age, I went to a swimming pool. And when I went to a swimming pool, I was standing at the edge of the swimming pool, and I was like, let's do a backflip into the swimming pool. And you have to understand that someone was recording me doing it. You understand? So I went for a backflip, and what happened was, inside the video, I seen how close I was to hit the edge of the concrete pavement of the swimming pool, because I went backwards into the pool, and I was like 2 centimeters away from hitting that corner edge in terms of the edge of the pool. So that's why I recommend that you guys never ever, and tell your kids this, to never jump backwards into a pool. You understand? Because you never know, you might hit your head on the edge of the swimming pool and then fall into the water, and then maybe you breathe in the water inside the pool because you're unconscious. And you have to understand that you could die really easily. So I came so close to death, and I was so close to death this time before, and you have to understand that no longer will I ever do that again, because I've seen on the video how close I was to hitting the edge of the pool in terms of the concrete with my head. You understand? With my head. And if I hit the if I hit the edge of the pool with my head, which is a concrete pavement, I would have gone unconscious, and I would have fell into the pool with all blood pouring down my head, and I would have probably breathed in the air inside the water, and I probably would have died from drowning myself as well, because if you fall unconscious inside a pool, then you're still breathing, but you're unconscious. But if you breathe underwater, you can drown yourself. Do you understand? So please tell your kids this. Please tell all your kids and everyone around you to never jump backwards nor forwards into a pool, because you don't want to risk it. Then no matter how athletic you are or anything like that, apparently it's not worth it. Do you understand? So just be careful, okay? So right now I'm just at a lake with my mum and a friend, and I'm having a good time because I've been listening to my music all day long. And you have to realize that when you're doing better for yourself, and when you're doing something that works for yourself, then you have to go a certain direction in life, and you have to do certain things to help your life to succeed. Do you understand? So I find myself working at the pools today. I'm doing something around helping myself grow, and I have no internet, but I can still work. I can still do my own passion and stuff like that. But once I come back to my mum's house, I realize I want to go learn something. I want to go on the internet and just play with some sounds in my music digital audio workstation or something like that. Make some new music or something like that for myself, and just help myself to do something for myself where I can live life the better way. So I just want to learn something. Do you understand? So make sure that you understand that learning is a tool that you can use as your passion, and your passion can be learning something. Do you understand? So anything that you can learn today, I promise you, go ask a question on YouTube or something like that, and tons of videos are going to come out on that question. Do you understand? So go help yourself. Go help yourself do something special for yourself. Go really learn something special today that will help your life to succeed somehow. You understand? So the more I learn from music production, and the more I do music or life coaching, or the more I listen to audio podcasts from people about psychology or spirituality or career and business and strategies and stuff like that, the better I am in terms of what I can do. You understand? So the more I read, the more I can do. You understand? So what's holding me back at the moment is cigarettes and caffeine. But I quit Red Bull recently. I just had a Red Bull recently, but I quit Red Bull recently as well. And now I'm just over here looking to inspire myself to grow And I realized that when I get back to Australia, it's going to be a different life. And what's going to be different is my mum and my friend over here are not going to be in my life. But the thing is that I'm going to be regularly calling my mum and stuff like that. I'm going to be saving some money to go back to Europe and stuff like that. And I have to be in Australia for 3 months before I can go to Europe again. So that said, I'm going to be able to do something in Australia around my passions. I'm going to start doing video programs in Australia. I'm going to start doing more video programs for myself, and I'm going to be on camera just teaching spirituality, teaching something about my life, teaching something around whatever it is that I teach in terms of life. And I teach everything, but the thing is that the more you teach, the more you know. Yes, and so, and the more you teach, the more you don't know at the same time. But recently I had a conversation with my mum, and she's like, that I have a problem with myself and that I have something wrong with me and stuff like that. There's nothing wrong with me. There's no problem with me. I don't believe a word she says. I don't believe a word my mum says in life. But the thing is that I learn something from her each and every single day that I speak to her. And each and every single day I talk to people, I see how spiritual they are. You understand? And that's the thing you can talk about with women or men or these days, or your kids. You can talk about how to become more spiritual, how to become much more passionate, how to become much more one with the world, how to be the influence that you want to be. For example, doing things that you want to do. For example, living your life according to how you want to live it. In a sense, so it's your choice how you want to live life. But I was never that type of guy to go to the gym and work out at the gym. I realized it never worked out for me. But it doesn't mean that it's not going to work out for me in the future. You understand? So it's a possibility that I'll go back into the gym and start training and stuff like that. But the thing is that I have a bike, and I can go tie my bike somewhere, and I can just go and really, let's say, drive to the gym, and I can work out for 3 months and stuff like that. But it's not worth signing up to the gym just yet. So the thing is that what I have to do is maybe go sign up for the swimming pools and just go work out in the pool every single day, get my blood circulating and stuff like that, so that I can be healthier. But I have to quit smoking, because smoking is something that holds me back from exercising. Do you understand? Smoking is something that I have to push through it, and I have to quit it, and I have to quit for good. Do you understand? So the thing is that I do like to smoke, but I do like not to smoke as well. You understand? So I have to choose a direction for myself. But the only thing that's holding me back now is myself. Nothing is holding me back in life, guys, except for me. You understand? Nothing is holding me back. I can improve as a person. I can improve my body outlook. I can improve my physical health. I can help myself to become that best version that I can be. And nobody's perfect. You understand? Nobody's perfect, and everyone is perfect at the same time. So you have to figure out life on your own. You have to do something for yourself where you can grow yourself, where you can become your best version, for example, where you can do something out of the ordinary, making sure that you live in life to the fullest and stuff like that. I promise you, that's what works. You understand? Do something that works for you. So what works for me is learning something. So I realized my mum said to me recently, what's the point in learning German when she's not going to live in Germany? In a sense, so it's a total different decision. I realize it's something to keep me occupied. I realize I can learn German just for the fun of it, just to know the language and stuff like that. But you never know. I realize German would help me to, let's say, speak to German people and to live in Germany, for example. So you have to realize that Germany has the most expensive electricity in the world, and that's why my mum wants to move out of Germany, because she's paying so much for electricity over here. And she owns real estate as well, so you have to realize that my mum got that real estate off guys, and she married some guy and she got the real estate off him. But the thing is that if it wasn't for that guy, then my mum wouldn't have the real estate. You understand? So you have to realize that's how women do it these days. They marry a guy and they get real estate off the guy, for example. So you understand? So some women are independent in terms of being able to make something for themselves. But the thing is that in today's world, you have to realize it's much more difficult than ever for a woman or a man to make something for themselves in terms of a house. You understand? So that's why I call renting the best thing. And you have to understand that the world's becoming a renting nation. You understand? Because everything's getting higher and higher in price. Everything's becoming more expensive. So you have to really watch for what you're eating, and you have to understand that I don't eat in restaurants. I can afford to eat in restaurants, but I just choose not to eat in restaurants. And you have to understand that when I eat special foods that help to fulfill my body. But sometimes people around me don't understand what I need in terms of my life. So today I wasn't aware to bring a tofu, for example. So my mum said that she's not going to make me food anymore because I don't eat it. You understand? And the thing is that it's better for me like that, because I can go into my canned food and I can eat from the can and it's no problem. But that's how I eat, guys. I eat beans and chickpeas and lentils and stuff like that, in terms of soybeans and tofu and nuts and peanuts and water. I drink water, and I drink, for example, sparkling water or mineral water, and I live on that. Yes, and that's where I get my fiber, that's where I get my vitamin B12 in almond milk as well. I drink almond milk and soy milk, and I get my vitamin B12 in that, and I get my amino acids in tofu, for example, and I get my fiber in legumes. Yes, and that's the important thing. I promise you, what else do you need? I promise you, it's much more how you can always add spirulina or grass-fed butter into your diet if you want. But the thing is, I don't eat bread, but you have to understand that it's really difficult to find grass-fed butter. You understand? I mean, it's much more how I don't eat any type of butters out there, but grass-fed milk, in terms of anything that's a green supplement that you can drink, for example, is good because it has certain nutrients inside of those foods, and you can actually live on those foods. But you have to understand that you have to mix it in with your meals and stuff like that, and it makes you healthier in the process. But you can get all your nutrients from foods and drinks that you eat, for example, and drink. So you have to focus on a better life for yourself, where you're focusing on helping yourself grow. And now when I get back to Australia, do I want to work the 9 to 5 job? I promise you, it's more how I don't want to work the 9 to 5, but I do at the same time, and I have to choose a direction. So it's much better for me to find a 9 to 5 job just for 2 days a week, just so I can save up a little bit more money to go to Europe, and so that I can have much more in my pocket, so that when I come to Europe, that I have money that I can go for a drink and stuff like that, so that I can help myself grow and stuff like that. So I have to focus on a better way of life for myself, and that's the important thing. So for example, when you don't have internet, do something around music production or life coaching or taking photos or photography and stuff like that, and just go and do something, because you have to understand that other people will undervalue you. You understand? I promise you have to understand why, because they don't believe that you are something special in life. Do you understand? And they believe that you're just like everyone else. You understand? So you have to realize that you have to stand out somehow. You have to do something that stands out. You understand? So whatever that is for you, you have to understand that it can grow you, and you have to understand that you have to grow yourself from it. But what do I stand out to be in this life? I stand out to be a life coach, and music is my passion. Yes, and that's why I'm different from other people. But I'm different from other people because nobody else thinks like me exactly. Yes, and so I've learned how to think. I've learned how to think based on how I have read in life. Because I've read so much, I've learned how to think with how other people think in life. But I think in terms of my own psychology, I make my own rules as well, and I eat what I want to eat, I do what I want to do. But take care of your health. Make sure you take care of your health, because health is number one. You have to understand that health is the most important thing in your life right now, and health goes with God. So you have to understand to put God first, and then health, and then everything else. You understand? So make sure you understand that without health you won't have much of a life. And you have to understand that those people who are ill and sick are the ones that don't have health. So you have to focus on helping yourself to succeed, and doing something every single day that's going to help you to stand out. You understand? So make sure you live life according to how you can live it. You understand? So that's what you need to do. And what else? I mean, For a woman, I realize I don't need a woman right now because I'm not ready for a woman personally. But unless a woman wants to give me a kid right now, I can do it. But I'm not desperate to have a kid right now. So anyway, so if you grow yourself the best way you can, if you do music production, for example, or anything like that, you have to understand that you're going to do better. You understand? You're going to do something that's going to be successful. But you have to understand, I went to Australian Institute of Music, and you have to understand that these people that I studied with, for example, in music production over there in that school, in terms of, in terms of Australian Institute of Music, you have to understand I didn't learn much, and I gave $9,000 for that. You understand? I didn't learn much in that time. And I was learning about theory, I was learning about major scales and minor scales and stuff like that. But do you know how much money you have to put into that education to get some education from them, in terms of to get some information from those people? I promise you, they scam you. You understand that these private institutions of universities are scammers. They try to teach you business and they try to teach you life in terms of things, but it's not enough information for the price. You can get so much more from self-help books and stuff like that, and you can help yourself this way do better. So anyway guys, so I just want to talk about life. I see now, for example, with my life, I have an example to show you in life, and you have to understand that the example is that if you're not better than yesterday, then nothing's working in your life. You have to every day make sure that your life is the best it can be, for example. And recently I just realized that I was doing some stuff on my laptop, and my mum just scared me recently, and she just walks through the night. And my mum scared me, and you have to understand that if you walk through the night, for example, if you're walking in the night and you don't turn on the light and someone's walking in the night and you can see them, you can see something ahead, and it's like, who the hell is that? You understand? Who is actually that in front of you, for example? And it just it happens like that people can scare you through the night like that. But the thing is that my mum recently called me an idiot for staying up late. You understand? But I like to stay up late. I like to do my music. I like to do my passion, for example, and stuff like that. I'm not working. I'm on holidays at the moment, but I am working. I'm doing other stuff in terms of my passions, which is very important for me personally. So I have to grow myself the best way I can, and I have to realize now that I need to make sure that I do a better life for myself. But the thing is that my motivation is somehow down in the dust somewhere. And it's like I don't want to quit smoking, I don't want to quit caffeine right now. But I'm someone who doesn't eat meat. I'm trying to be a vegan for myself, and I'm succeeding. I haven't ate meat in about 9 days now. I haven't ate meat at all, and I feel much better, to be honest. But there's time. I realize my life is not perfect, but I realize I have to do better for myself to actually grow. And the reason I'm talking like this is because I don't want to wake up anyone. Do you understand? So I'm just talking in a quiet manner. And I realize now what I've done recently is I unsubscribed from German language. I don't want to learn German language anymore, but I'll learn German language here and there, but I'm not going to learn through the application of Duolingo. I unsubscribe from Duolingo, and I'm going to devote that time for learning German, for learning music production and doing music production and life coaching instead. And I saved $36,000 this way, and I recalculated that over 70 years, how much money that would be. For example, I mean, it's actually 16,800 or something like that. And I also unsubscribed from Blinkist. I'm not reading anymore on Blinkist at the moment, and I'm doing something else, for example. And you have to understand, I'm dividing my time in other ways, in better ways. So I realize now there's in about 12 days time I'm going to be with my dad. I realize it's going to be different. I realize I can't wait to be with my to be in Australia, for example. But the thing is that with my dad, he's something special to me, but you have to understand that he's helped me a lot. And I understand that it's going to be different with my dad. I realize it's going to be much more how I'm going to be able to play poker. I'm going to be able to go to movies, for example. I'm going to be able to drive a car. I'm going to be able to get my food from the store on my own. I'm going to be able to be independent, for example. And that's a good thing. But here with my mum, I don't get to drive a car. I don't get to go to the shops on my own. I don't get to, for example, I don't get to do stuff that I would usually do in Australia. For example, like play poker or go movies, for example. So it's different. I realize life is different. I realize you have to keep doing something every single day that's going to help your life to succeed. And you have to talk it out with yourself in a better way. You have to do something every single day that's going to be inspiring, that's going to be logical in a way that you're emotionally succeeding. Yes, and you have to emotionally succeed. And that kind of inspires me, to be honest, in terms of what I just said. And the reason for that is I'm much more... Oh, sorry, I'm getting tired. I'm much more in that space or zone where I want to do physically better. I want to do emotionally better. I want to do spiritually better. I want to do mentally better. I realize my mentality I realize there's nothing wrong with my mentality. I realize there's nothing wrong with my spirituality. I realize it's much more how I'm aware much more now than ever before. I'm much more capable to do anything in terms of whatever you need me to do. For example, I'm much more able to learn quickly. You understand? So the thing is that with 9 to 5 jobs, you have to learn the job quickly. And I have no problem with that. I'm able to work, you understand? I'm able to get out there and work and get my own money and stuff like that. It's no problem. I realize there's plenty of time for a 9 to 5 job in my life. And I realize you never know, I might die tomorrow. You understand? I might die in recent times or something like that. But I don't die. I'm not dying. So the thing is that I'm dying every day, but the thing is that I'm growing as well. But you have to realize that in the future, everyone's going to die. And everyone's going to go somewhere better in life. So I realize I'm doing better than this guy, for example. I realize, and you have to understand, don't compare yourself to other people. And the reason for that is that it's egotistical. You understand? It's egotistical because you have to realize that it's nice to know that you're doing better than others. Sorry, I'm tired. So, for example, you have to understand that, for example, these kids that are born today, I'm doing better than these kids, for example. I'm more aware than a kid. For example, I've done more than a kid. I have lived life more than a kid, for example. So you have to understand, you're always doing better than yesterday in terms of something that you're doing. You understand, you're always doing better than yesterday. But what you focus your mind on is what grows. You understand? If you focus on cigarettes, then you're going to have cigarettes in your life. If you focus on a shit life, then you're going to have a shit life. You understand? So if you focus on something better, that you can do much better now than ever before, then you're going to always improve. You understand? So you have to realize that sometimes you have to go through rough times to get to the garden. You understand? So you have to understand that life is different and you have to do something different all the time. But I realize my mum's angry now and I just let her be. I realize she's going to have a talk with me in the morning or in the afternoon when I wake up. And you have to understand that I've been trying to wake up, for example, with my own phones and stuff like that, but it doesn't work for some reason. I have to get myself a real clock that I can put it on a certain time and it wakes me up and goes da na 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 na, and it's very loud, for example, and it doesn't stop, it just keeps ringing. So I have to get those types of clocks for myself so that I can help myself to wake up, for example. So I realize everyone's making money these days. I realize money is something that you need in life to survive. Yes, and so money's up there with breathing, as Zig Ziglar said. But you have to realize that there's a better world here in the world, and you have to realize that something is always working. Yes, and something is always out there doing the best job that they can do, and something's happening in the world. So you have to let your imagination run wild somehow to progress in a fashion that's going to help you to understand life, for example. So I don't feel I feel tired, but at the same time I don't want to sleep, for example. So I don't know what to do anymore. But the thing is that I can see what to do with words. Understand? But the thing is that if you grow yourself every single day, and if you're really, really thriving in life, then you have to understand that you have to do better all the time, and you have to always progress yourself in a way that is going to help grow you. Yes, and because that's the only fashion today. So every single day, try to make sure that people around you have what they need to succeed, and that way you'll be taken care of, for example. So if you go further for other people, for example, then you're going to get what you want, for example. But if you always seek to help other people around you, then you are also going to have much more, let's say, abundance, because people like to give back to you. Yes, and so what you give to other people also, in return, you get something in return for that. And so what you give is what you get. Yes, and what you sow is what you reap. Yes, and that's a successful method. Yes, and that if you sow more for yourself, you shall reap more. So if you do more, you shall reap more. Yes, and so it just depends on you and what you want out of life. But for example, with my friends from the past, I realized that nothing, personally, there's something in life, but the thing is that they are not doing the job that I do. Yes, and they're not doing what I do. They're doing something different. And you have to understand that it's a different life for everybody, but they're not as spiritual as I am. I'm much more spiritual than them, and I understand much more of life than them. So you have to realize that in life you have to be strong. You have to be strong in life. You have to sleep early, wake up early. You understand? And like, for example, you have to realize there's always a way. You understand? There's always a way that you can abbreviate for yourself or do something in life where you can help to grow yourself and other people, for example. But you have to push your content out there in the market. Yes, and you have to every single day make sure that as much content as possible is going up online, where you can help to do that for yourself for every day, where you're actually growing yourself the best way you can. Yes, and so I realize every single day that I speak the word I, for example, I understand that I do better. I get back inside of myself. I find that motivation inside of myself. I find the inspiration inside of myself. I realize I start with the word I get back into the word I understand that this helps me to grow. Yes, and I understand that every single day I understand that there is something more to do in terms of words. I can go in the word I can figure it out for myself. I realize I don't have the world figured out yet. I realize everything that I'm learning every single day is always different. But when I go back to myself, I understand much more about how I can deliver information. So I want to speak the word I more to people, because I get smarter this way. I understand that what I could have said over there is, I understand what you mean, I understand how you feel, I understand how that is, I understand that I do this, I do that. For example, I love this game. I love to play. I love how you girls or you guys are doing this. I realize this is nice. I realize making conversation with people, I mean, always speaking that word I, understand? And I realize, and when you speak that word I realize things happen. I realize something magical happens. I realize this makes me excited just talking about it, for example. So I realize that when you actually get back to the word I all the time, you are always going to figure out something more to say. I understand that the first word that I say out of my mouth is the word I always. I understand that's why Jesus Christ said, I shall never kill, I shall never steal, I shall never commit adultery. I understand that's why he always does that for himself, because he's always stuck with the word I. Do you understand? Because everything is the word I understand that. I realize if you really want to be spiritual in life, I realize you have to help to outmaneuver yourself every single day, because you have to understand that nobody's against you. I realize that the psychiatrists are not against you. You understand? I realize if you are someone who has a psychiatrist who's giving you medication, for example, I understand that you have to realize that if you start thinking that people are against you, then you are paranoid schizophrenic. You understand? So you have to realize that nobody's against you. I realize people are really trying to help you. I understand that I realize they're putting you on medication because they're trying to help you. So I realize my mum's not against me. I realize nobody's against me in life. I realize that now. I realize that I had that problem before where I was thinking always that people were against me. I realize, so the thing is that nobody hates me. I realize Slobo Shivats doesn't hate me. I realize people that I respect don't hate me, for example. I respect everybody, do you understand? I realize if you start thinking that people hate you, do you understand, that the world's against you somehow, I realize that's a paranoid schizophrenic. Do you understand? I realize that's what schizophrenia is. It's delusion. I realize it's like people are against you. I realize people hate you. Do you understand? So I get that a lot from the Serbian community. I realize I was always thinking of myself that I was always thinking by myself that people over there in the Serbian community don't like me. You understand? So I realize something, that they do love me and that they have nothing against me. I realize they didn't kill me yet, so they're making me stronger. I realize there's nothing in between us that can cause hate, for example. I realize, for example, some people blocked me recently. I realize this guy blocked me recently, and it's not because he hates me. I realize it's because he loves me. I realize that's how I must talk. I must talk in a way that helps me to see that people don't hate me, that people don't resent me. I realize I must go back to the words I all the time. I understand that people don't resent me. I understand that it's much more how they're just unaware about what's happening. I realize it's much more how I see something now. I see something that the Serbian community of the past and the people that I used to hang around with do not hate me. Yes, and the thing is that I realize this now, and I'm much healthier for it. Yes, and that is the thing about life. I understand that nobody's against me in life, and that makes me healthy. Yes, then. But before I was always talking about how the Serbian community hates me, that I have people who hate me and stuff like that, and that somehow the world's against me in some kind of way. And you understand? But the thing is that nobody's against you, and that's delusion and paranoia. Yes, and so that's what I see now. I realize my dad doesn't hate me. I realize otherwise he would kill me. I realize nobody hates me. Yes, and so the thing is that if somebody tries to kill me, I realize I will defend myself as much as possible. I will try to live life as much as possible, and I will try to run away, for example, instead of fight. But the thing is that if I can't run away, then I'll fight. You understand? I'll fight for my life. I realize it's much more how you have to realize that you have to be careful out there in the streets if you're busking. I realized when I was busking, I had people come up to me who wanted to steal my stuff, for example, or who were kicking my business cards, tearing down my posters, for example. I realized they didn't like me, for example, but they loved me. I realized it's not that they didn't like me. I realized they loved me. But the thing is that somehow the love drives you crazy. You understand? I realized, but love never drives you crazy. You understand? I realized it must be something different, and I realized it must be that they're just unaware about how to promote themselves, and that's it. Yes, I think that's the answer. I realize there's an answer for everything, guys. I realize, why am I not successful like Grant Cardone, for example? I realize I don't do things like him. I don't go out there searching for real estate like him. I don't go doing much like him, like what he does. I understand I do something different. I realize if I really wanted to become Grant Cardone, I would follow him and I'd do everything I can to be just like him. You understand? But the thing is that I do follow him and I admire Grant Cardone, for example, but I try to be the first Danny Milivojevic. I try to be someone different. I try to understand that that is reinventing the wheel. You understand? But the thing is that I understand I can never be Grant Cardone. I can be Danny Milivojevic. I realize I have to get out there. I have to promote myself. I have to put money into things. I have to support myself. I have to love myself. For example, I have to do better. I have to go out there somewhere inside. I have to find words for advice for myself. I have to grow. I understand something in life is different in my life. I realize something's happening. I realize what is happening is this moment. For example, I understand that when I go back to the word I can find something to say. I realize it gives me time to speak as well. I realize when I go back to the I, it gives me time to speak. I realize that's the thing that you maybe won't understand about what I'm talking about. But the thing is that I just return to the word I when I speak, and that's it. I understand that my first language is always the I. I understand that's everything to me in my life. I realize that's all I have in life. I realize everything that you own in life is the wisdom that you have. I realize that's all you have. I realize just the wisdom that you can give to people. I understand that's everything in life. I realize the more you read, the more richer you are. I realize the more you go and give much more content to other people in terms of wisdom, the richer you are in terms of what you've sown for yourself. I realize that's why I love to help people online, but I understand that people are different. I realize that what I give out in terms of information, I realize other people can get somewhere else. Yes, and so I realize my information is for free. I realize now it's up to them if they want to, let's say, go and learn from me. I realize if they want to learn from me, then I will teach them mindset. I'll teach them everything that they need to know about life. I understand that's what I can do every single day. I understand it's not because that the universe is against me or anything like that. I realize the universe is not against me. I realize people are not against me. I realize that's why I realize they're just unaware about how to approach me, and I realize they're unaware about how to read my content. You understand? I realize I have to put it in front of their face. I have to make sure that they read my content. I realize it has to be time effective. I realize it has to be productive. I realize every single day I have to do better. I have to do something that helps people to succeed. I realize every single day, I understand that when I speak, for example, in an audio program, I understand that it's much different than my journal, for example. I realize in my journal, I do something different totally. I understand that. I realize I want to be somewhere. I want to go somewhere. I realize I just want to live my life somehow. I realize if I speak to, I apologize. I realize if I speak the word I to everybody, I realize I'm the most confident human being on the planet. I realize that's easy to do. Do you understand? Do you understand? I realize it's much more how I can understand something. I can understand that I start with the word I finish with the word I. I realize that's how I do everything in life. I understand that's how I speak. I understand that's how I do things. I understand that if I need to do better, I can really satisfy myself somehow. I can sleep, I can do whatever I need to do to succeed. I realize sleep is success. Yes, and I realize sleep is a type of success that you need in your life. I realize you need sleep and success in your life. I can say that's it for now. I can say if I want to push forward, I have to go with the word I. I realize I believe in myself that I can do it. I realize there's something always happening in my life that I can succeed with. I realize it's much more how I have to take my time if I want to go more. I understand that if I want to deliver information at a rapid rate, I realize that's all the success in the world. I realize, but how do you find the time to do it? I realize life happens to be sometimes. I can say it's much more how I am a type of Mozart, I'm a type of Armand van Buuren, I'm a type of Grant Cardone, I'm a type of Tony Robbins. I'm all types of people except anything that isn't Jesus. I realize I'm much more like Jesus Christ than anything in life. I realize sex to me isn't special. I realize life is sex anyway, so sex is special to me. But the thing is that I admire having sex with other women in terms of women out there. I realize I'm not a woman, but the thing is you have to realize that I have feminine qualities as well. And I realize what are my feminine qualities. I realize just the way I am. I realize everyone has masculinity and feminine qualities to some extent. I realize you have to understand that you need to deliver something. I understand that if you deliver something, you can actually grow from it. I realize you can do something to help yourself, to inspire yourself. I realize that's easy to do. I realize you have to push yourself to create content. I realize be with the word I, and the word I is your friend. I realize the word I is your friend. I realize never forget that. I understand that if you just speak the word I daily in everything you do, I realize you can push yourself to create content. I realize you can push yourself to do anything in life. I realize that's the easiest method in the world to do. I realize that's what helps you to really connect with people. I understand if you connect with people, I realize you'll get somewhere. Do you understand? I realize that's how you grow in life. And if you come back to the word I always, I realize you always have that nice and beautiful thing in life. I understand that's how I grow. I grow through the best kind of way that I can. I help myself in the best way that I can. I understand that I've been failing to do so in some areas, but I'm gonna get back in track. I'm gonna get back on track. I'm going to start speaking better English. I understand I'm gonna keep learning English and Serbian and stuff like that. I realize my mom's gonna move away from Germany very soon. I don't know where I'm gonna live life. I'm very unstable in terms of where I'm gonna live in life. I realize my friends from the past are really stable now. I realize they're living in one country. Yes, then so I'm moving from country to country to country, and I realize I'm not stable yet. I'm not in one place. You understand? I realize I have to be in one place if I want to find a girlfriend. So I have to understand that it's not important for me right now. I realize I'd rather just go from place to place to place at the moment. I realize if it doesn't work out for me to have a girlfriend, then I realize it's not meant to be. I understand that I had chances to be with a woman before. I screwed it up. Yes, and I screwed it up. I just wanted the sex. I was that type of guy who just wanted sex from people. You understand? And I didn't want kids. You understand? So I realized if I had the same opportunities today with those women, I realized I would have kept them. I wasn't grateful. I wasn't grateful for those women, and that's why they are not in my life. I understand, but the next woman, if she comes, you understand? So I realize if the next woman comes, then I have someone in life that I can always appreciate. I realize I appreciate everything and everyone around me now. I'm really doing much better in terms of spirituality. I realize sooner than later I'm going to get off medication. I'm going to start losing weight. I'm going to start exercising. I'm going to start doing better for myself. I just want to be in Australia right now. I realize I want to be in Australia. I realize but why? I realize just the way it is. I realize there's nothing wrong with my mum here. I realize there's nothing wrong with being with my mum. I realize I just want to get away from her for a bit. I I realize, why is that? I realize just the way it is. I realize it's much more how I want to move away, somewhere far away. I want to go where there's no people. I want to go somewhere where I can have peace and quiet, where I can just be alone. I understand that's where I want to go. I realize that's where I want to be all my life. Do you understand? I just want to have that private time with myself to do things on my own. I think that's satisfactory for me. I realize, why is that? I realize it's just nobody's annoying you. I realize nobody's doing anything for you. I realize it's just you. I realize you can be with yourself. I realize you do things for yourself. You help yourself. I realize you help yourself to do things better. I realize you help yourself to do things for the better, and you just grow yourself. I realize that's all I want. And I'm gonna stop annoying people online. I realize they don't care about me. I realize they care about me, but the thing is that I wanna give them a break for a long time. I wanna go anyway now. I realize I wanna go back to the word I, and I wanna speak much more content. I understand if I do that, I can find inspiration in the word I can see something much more in terms of what I want to say. When I come back to the word I realize that's what I learn from. I realize that's how I learn. I learn how to speak by just going back to the word I understand that's how I go about life. I realize now I need to do better for myself. I have to grow. I have to get back into a better fitness regime, and I need to develop myself more. So if you guys are enjoying the program, please make sure that you guys can subscribe to my channel if you really want to. I realize I can teach you so much about life if you're just willing to listen. And yeah, I realize anyway guys, I hope that you guys enjoy your day, and see you guys very soon.